Thank you, Senator Rice. Senator Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. Australia is a proud sporting nation where we unite together to support our national teams at competitions at home and abroad across a wide range of sporting pursuits. However, there is possibly no other game that unites nations across the world like soccer, or football as it's called everywhere in the world except Australia and the United States. Now, a number of superlatives were used to describe the efforts of our Socceroos at the recent World Cup in Brazil. And I must say, Mr. President, I was very disappointed not to have been able to attend. For those who have not been to a World Cup soccer final, you don't know what you're missing. I was supposed to have been there this year with my family, but following the federal election last year, I made inquiries about Senate sittings and was told it was most unlikely that the Senate would be sitting in early July when the World Cup final was on. So my family and I went ahead and booked. Well, sure enough, the Senate sat in early July, I missed out, and my family went. But they did assure me it was a great event, which was not much consolation. Now, one word possibly used more than many others to describe Australia's Socceroos at that World Cup final was courageous. And I agree. They displayed enormous amounts of courage during each one of their games, never giving up, often to their more fancied opponents believing anything was possible. But back to Australia. To 18 of our local communities, from Townsville to Hobart, Bunbury to Parramatta, and many places in between. Because it is in these communities, week in, week out, that we see some of the most courageous football or soccer being played. No, it's not Tim Cahill or Mark Bresciano, but Roy and Sean and Jeff and Dee, whoever else, one of the other 5,000 homeless and disadvantaged Australians who since 2007 have turned up week in, week out to participate in the Big Issues Community Street Soccer program. Speaking of courageous, let me tell you a little bit about Jeff. 3 years ago, Jeff was homeless, sleeping rough and suffering from severe depression when he turned up one week to the Adelaide Street Soccer program. Jeff attributes his attendance at this weekly program to completely turning his life around. Quite simply, in his own words, it got my confidence back and it got me talking to people again. Now in permanent housing, Jeff has become a mentor and role model to other soccer players and received the thrill of his lifetime when he was selected to represent Australia last year at the Homeless World Cup in Poland. Then there's Tony, who suffers from severe schizophrenia and has been coming to the Ballarat Street Soccer program for nearly 6 years. Despite an extremely difficult and abusive childhood, Tony's remarkable strength of character shines through during the weekly sessions. Unfortunately, last year, Tony was critically injured following a hit-and-run accident and spent the next 6 months undergoing countless surgeries, resulting in him needing to learn to walk again. His fellow players and support staff visited him each week after their training session, and as soon as he was able to leave hospital, he was back at street soccer with his teammates, crutches in tow. Operated by the Big Issue, street soccer uses the power of sport to re-engage those who are marginalised and disadvantaged. People who have often slipped through the cracks of traditional welfare systems, including those suffering from mental illness and substance abuse, the homeless, refugees and Indigenous Australians. The results street soccer delivers extend way beyond the social. Studies have shown that for every $1 invested in the program, a return of over $4 is generated through savings due to the participants reducing their demand on government crisis services. This remarkable program has been proudly supported by the federal government since 2007. However, it is with much disappointment that despite the many hundreds of stories like Jeff's and Tony's and all the additional economic benefits, it has not been refunded this year. Without this funding, many of these programs will simply have to close. Now, as a soccer fan, I naturally welcome the staging of the Asian Football Cup next January and the chance for us to host the best footballers from our neighbouring countries. But I also urge the government to reconsider the important role that grassroots sporting programs like Community Street Soccer Program play in fostering a more inclusive Australia. One only needs to wander down to Jubilee Park in Parramatta on any Thursday afternoon to see participants from Afghanistan, Sudan, Iran, Nigeria, Ethiopia and Egypt coming together over their shared love of soccer and in doing so improving their lives one kick at a time. Mr. President, I trust the government can find a way to continue to support the sporting dreams of Australians from all walks of life, because it's no exaggeration to say that people's lives depend on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Day.